Alright, what's happening here? This is Jay Reed, Chief of the League Keepers, Son of Cloud. I'm here with my sons, Jeff and Amarion. We're going to go ahead today and give y'all a life-saving class. Some of you veterans might notice that some of the stuff is going to be based on the Combat Lifesavers Course. So don't get yourself too much in an uproar or upset about it. It'll be okay. That's what we're going to do here today. First three portions, responsiveness and levels of consciousness are going to be the first thing that we go over. And then the next chapter, we're going to go over positioning the casualty on the back. So, say for instance, you got a casualty, you walk upon somebody and they hurt and they're on the stomach. We're going to figure out how to get them onto their back because it's a certain way that we need to do that. It's not just flip them over, roll them over like a bulldozer, okay? All right, and then after that, we're going to show you how to apply a tourniquet, how to stop hemorrhaging, major bleeding, like bleeding, arterial bleeding. It'll stop you from living in 1 or 2 minutes, okay? And then beyond that, some other things we're going to go over in the future. But the first 3 classes will be these we're doing today. We'll do check for breathing, check for open chest wounds, check for other wounds, check for fractured limbs, and then we're going to treat for shock. Those are going to be some of the first things that we're going to do. And again, like I told y'all before, the reason I'm teaching y'all this is because there's stuff that a lot of times stuff that we don't know, and we all human beings, so we need to know how to stay alive, right? So if you run across somebody, we want to figure out how to keep them alive. Because it's good that, yeah, you know it, you can save somebody's life, but hopefully you run across somebody that took it serious and know it themselves, and they can save your life if need be, okay? All right, so the first thing we'll go over is going to be responsiveness, and that's the first kind of section. So basically, you got an injured person, they're down, they're hurt, and you walk upon them, and they're telling you, oh man, yeah, I hurt, I fell down, I broke my leg, I did whatever. That person is responsive, all right? That's what responsiveness is, all right? So if you run across a person that are not responsive, next thing you want to do, you want to establish what their level of consciousness is, okay? And there's 4 different levels of consciousness that you're going to need to distinguish upon when you're trying to establish it. The 4 levels are going to be A, V, P, and U. Okay, the A is going to stand for alert, and in this stage of consciousness, when you get with the person, you're trying to figure out, do they know their name? Do they know what today's date is? Do they know what happened to them? Or making sure that, hey, they're conscious and their mind is clear. All right? If you're not able to establish that, you're asking them questions, they're not able to tell you what their name is or stuff. Maybe they're even talking, but they can't tell you what their name is. So then after that, we're going to go down to the next level of consciousness, which is going to be V, which is verbal. Okay, so they're alert. Either they're not responding, they're not able to answer these questions, or either they're not responding at all. So we're going to move down to V. So V is verbal. You're saying, hey, move your legs, move your arms, can you hear me? You're asking them questions like that to establish, since, okay, they're not talking or saying anything, are they at least here? Is their mind here with them? Can you move? Do you feel me? Move your leg, move your arm. So if they're able to move their arm and you tell them to move their arm and move your leg, then okay, they can respond to verbal. So they're V on the consciousness level, okay? But then if they're not able to respond or do anything, you tell them to move their arm and things like that, nothing happens. So they're not an A or V. You're going to move down, and the next level is going to be P. It's pain. And the next thing you want to do is see, can we hurt them a little bit? And then you're going to take your knuckles right here and you just run it through the sternum, the middle bone inside of the chest. A fast, quick, brisk, deep run in there. And if it hurts them, they should move or grunt or do something like that. And then that lets you know, okay, well, they're responding to a pain stimuli. Okay, and if they don't respond to a pain stimuli, then they're going to go down to the next level, which is going to be unconscious. All right, so for the pain stimuli, you don't have to go through a bunch of graduation with it. So if they don't respond to the brisk thing to the sternum, maybe you pinch them or something like that in a sensitive area, and if they don't respond to that, then you leave it alone. You don't have to go get no actors, cut off your legs and do things like that. Okay, so I want you, Marion, to go ahead and explain me a scenario, and I want you to stop at the P. That's what your patient is.
Alright, so I figured out that their pain is a P when first I tried to do the first step, which is alert, see if they're alert, see if they know like their surroundings, all that. And then I tried V, which is verbal. I try to give them verbal commands, see if they'll respond to it, which they didn't. So I went ahead and I went to P, which is pain, and then I try to inflict some pain to see if they'll react to it.
Okay. And so why did you stop at the P? They reacted to the pain, so that's why you stopped at the P. Okay. So Jeff, for you, it's gonna be you. Your pitching is all the way down to you. I want you to explain your way through it.
Okay. So I come across my patient. I ask him some questions, see if he's alert. The first step. Try to ask him, does he know who he is? Does he know where he's at? What day it is? Who's the president? He doesn't really know, so I move on to the next step, which is verbal. I try to give some verbal commands. I ask him, is he hurt? Where does it hurt at? Etc. etc. He doesn't respond. So then I advance to the next step, which is pain. I take my knuckles and I brush against his sternum. No reaction. I pinch in sensitive areas. No reaction. So I move on to the next step, which is unconscious. And furthermore, I would get some help, request for help.
Okay.
Unconscious.
So exactly, and as we go into furthermore requesting help, that's the reason that you're trying to establish what the level of consciousness is. So now that you're calling in to request help, you're able to tell them this information, because the first series of questions they're going to ask you is going to be trying to establish this. So they're going to ask you, hey, is he talking? Is the patient this? Is the patient that? So if you're able to already establish that quickly, because you know that's what they're going to ask you, and this should only take about 30 seconds. It shouldn't take 5 or 6 minutes. As you go through, it's just understanding. It takes a minute to explain it, but then once you're actually carrying it out, it's not something that takes a long time. Okay, so it's good that you know this information so that you can go ahead, and if anybody ever is in a situation when you call the EMTs, you can relate that information, and then they can get quicker to telling you what they need you to do to help continue to save this person's life. All right, so it just gives us a head start on life-saving measures. Okay,